the perpetually slowing system. Time, said the girl. To complete so many levels, you have to spend a lot of time. The transition could take a couple years, the Av girl sadly stated after all the calculations. It's too much, he immediately dismissed that option. The mad hermit. Still, he's the only frontiersman on his level of the Matrix and can't leave it for long. Of course, there are capable mad students. They can fight the weak illegals. But if, like last time, an illegal conqueror shows up, there will be trouble. The pressure, the chicken dragon, was still fresh in the hermit's mind. The floor can't be left to these two, Hyunwoo decided. Try looking for more loophole, asked android girl, crazy cheater. Denied, no loopholes, replied the white-haired neural network. Is it really that hard? Burst out the mad hermit, smashing the virtual furniture, the little girl barely saving her pizza. It was a nasty thing, Hyunwoo resented. Each time this quest required more effort, time, and dedication. After a bit of thinking, he had a good guess. There was someone to ask. He quickly jumped to his feet and changed from anger to mercy. After all, there's a ponytailed guy who knows the Matrix like the back of his hand. The white-haired squirrel reached for the delicious food again. The Monkey King scratched thoughtfully behind his ear. Hyunwoo waited patiently for Makakis to deign to answer one simple, direct question about how to get to the 12th level of the Matrix quickly. Is it pouring or what? Asked a cheeky macaque, asking for details. With nothing to occupy himself with, the mad hermit asked sharply. Macaque asked a lot of questions. In any case, what he can say about the Matrix is limited to the system. He jumped out of the tree. Even if he says so, the system may not let that information through. Don't pull the cat out of the bag. Tell it like it is. The hermit couldn't stand it. Okay, took pity on the chatty macaque at the very top of the Matrix tree. His voice was drowned in the white noise of the interference, so that the hermit could not make out a single word. The foam squeaked nastily against the glass, and the hermit squeezed his eyes shut. Macaque sighed with a look. They told the fool, and he didn't believe it. He beckoned the hermit to the sandy ground and drew a line. This time, blurred not only the audio signal but also the visual perception, the system saw his thoughts as processes and filtered out those that were undesirable. As if he'd been drinking methyl alcohol, the hermit rubbed his eyes. So there's no way to find out, Hyunwoo said, annoyed. Some simple, not particularly important information can be learned, Makakis pawed. You can answer the question about the 12th level, chuckled the macaque king. Come here, baboon-tailed, the mad hermit was angry. Let it go, the manganese lord thought. Whoever he was, he had a high level of access in the system. He had no trouble observing Hyunwoo inside the macaque level. Hatter Emo Dao destroyed, just a borderline outsider that got his power, reasoned aloud to the Lord. Fine. The manganese lord is satisfied. The border guard created to check, now becoming an outsider, kills the illegals who passed it. What wonderful karma, the Lord rejoiced. But his servant was not pleased with this development. Leave the outsider alone, asked the servant monk of the Lord. He has gathered so much. I even wonder how much more karma and skills he can absorb, this guy answered the Lord. So let's give him some time, he decided. How many bananas do you want? Asked the mad hermit, surprised. I've said 1,000 times, a kilogram every day, Macaque insisted. And the ass won't crack, raged the mad hermit. He doesn't know the Matrix with infinite palms. After haggling at half the agreed-upon amount, Macaque finally told him how long it would take to get to the top of the Matrix tree. The journey will take almost 2 years, require many quests and a few other things. Illegal has a 9th floor assignment to complete, Macaque answered evasively. But the rest of the data was again rubbed out by the system's censorship. Say that again, the hermit asked, and Macaque figured out how else to convey the meaning. Each level of the Matrix has its own peculiarities, he continued. But can't the time be shortened? The hermit asked. He has to protect all its residents as a frontiersman and can't be away for 2 years. King Makakis wondered if he was selling his precious data cheaply. Cough up the moochers, where is the secret cheater's wicket? Pleaded the mad hermit. King Makakis smiled. Who would he be if he didn't know all the sneaky loopholes the Duri cloud had been heard of? No matter how much running he did, he still returned to the guild, the loyal cats taking up waiting positions left and right. The slave girl stammered again about the contract, and a bouquet bloomed in the room. But the mad hermit refused, and the flower bed immediately wilted. The hermit gnawed insensitively on his waffles while surfing the net. With the Duri cloud, he could go up the Matrix catalog much faster. And reformat, a couple of hard drives in the developer's brain that locked him in the training level. Girls, the mad hermit remembered his faithful disciples. And seeing the wilted flower garden, even the tactless hermit had a twinge of something. To cheer them up, the emperor pulled out his cell phone. He called to slave Anna, watching their reaction. The cats perked up. And asked me to send him a contract to shoot for a commercial. The girls flashed with joy and beauty again. Even a dullard would get the point, the hermit realized. And so, he turned to the mad disciples, who did not even hide their joy. "I need to get something," asked the mad emperor, his minions. "The first catwoman is at your service, sir," nodded Mirayong. "The head apprentice is ready to execute. Just order the head," thumped Agent Rosa's chest. "Catch my drift," said the mad emperor. "Sometimes it's good to have servants," he thought. A new illegal was prowling the levels of the Matrix, got the hermit system notified. "Where do they get them from? They've already run out of cemetery space," Hyunwoo said angrily. Again, to fight with all sorts of small things fell into apathy, hermit. For such illegals, not even rewarded already. Ride it all on horseback, the mad hermit decided. No one would interfere with his rest. "Here comes the vacation," thought the goblin strung on the spade. Only between revivals he could be said to be resting. And so no pension or vacation pay. Slavery within a system where you are just fodder for the horses. The ninth floor rumbled with an illegal tale. He took a long time to snicker and sputter vile saliva before leaving the labyrinth. Bouncing in at last, the pedal-powered, polite hermit from the lounge area said hello. "Tell me your number, I'll bet on you at the races," the hermit asked politely. "What's the small-minded one?" the centaur miscarriage asked, jabbing his stick in the hermit's direction. "So you have not been given yet, and you have a passport. How do you want to come in, cattle, or humanoid?" asked the border guard. "Whatever." The mutant stomped his hoof, he said to the border guard. "No documents means we'll write it down as Servalat," the border guard decided. "You've got to be kidding me," rumbled the unintelligible Przewalski's horse on the mini-map. "Didn't they teach you how to behave at the border?" wondered the polite border guard officer. "It means the responsible border guard, Hyunwoo, is tired of lying on the dock," and dragged the horse's croup or chest into the midsection of his mysterious anatomy. The horse has plowed a deep furrow without a plow after such a blow. "I'd rather be racing," thought the half-horse. "What a monster at some 9th level. We need to urgently turn on the cheats," thought Polkanya, and turned on the fortune-teller. Why, he's got his eyes on the systemic trajectories of the future. The inverse centaur shrank back in fear, looking through all the available quest options. Everywhere there was a dash and the word death. "Only for sausage, and as you thought to ride, hooves are not enough. No back like a centaur to ride," said the hermit. "The question is fast or slow, how will you die?" asked the mad hermit. Hyunwoo read yet another flattering review of his inconsequential exploits. It was worth relaxing. 2 loyal students broke in to report on the completion of the quest. The mad emperor discreetly praised both of them, the cats purring contentedly. A pipe with for smoking ganjubas read the hermit's status plate. The necklace is part of a big and bold plan, so Hyunwoo smiled. "I will be when I return," the hermit scrambled, leaving his faithful students behind again. "I'll be quick this time," he said, and wrapped the tube in Mangaka's portmanteau. Agent Rosa was surprised. This was the first time she had seen this ability of the teacher. "Master," the Dragon Empress sighed languidly, when he gently put his arm around her shoulders and leaned in slightly as if he wanted to say something. She couldn't take her ruby eyes off him. He had the courage to steal a young maiden's first kiss. His lips approached slowly, and his breath stung the skin on her face. She closed her eyes, completely dissolved in his embrace, gave herself over to the heat in her chest. Cutie. So Yun dropped her phone after reading all that. She scoured the internet until she hit clickbait and read a fan story about a teacher and a disciple. At first, she thought it was a novel, but it turned out to be a snotty drama, but about friends she knew. But what a suspicious content, horrified tiny Seo Yun, who could have written such a thing. The always cautious Shurken knocked, entered the room without hearing an answer, and almost died. Cutie, So Young, didn't know what to say, and as her friend was coming around, he misbehaved, asked Shurken. Hyunwoo had infiltrated another secret level. This time, a forest in the mountains, he noticed. There was no mistake, so it just needed a good search, the hermit decided, and jumped up to look around in case he noticed something. But what is this pissed-off mad hermit? What a stupid level. The forest and the mountains are a solid wall of impenetrable forest and nothing of importance. Already falling, he saw the cave. It was already more like a focal point. Performing the superhero landing that it's never too late to practice, he headed towards the cave, making their way through the woods at breakneck speed. Until I'm at the edge of a strange well, no other objects nearby, so it's definitely needed. The hermit jumped in. Good thing the passage wasn't deep. After treading through the cave for a bit, he saw the light again and marveled. In the breach grew a huge branching tree that looked like a willow. "Who is he, the plan is?" the voice of a local resident asked him, and took a proper drag on his pipe. Now that's a great level. Bushes are there. And Genjubas thought the hermit. The great Kuretz Gashishin. The hermit recognized without difficulty. Kuretz Dason. Called the full name of the hidden level owner. "Use within reasonable limits, but who will you be yourself?" Kuretz lazily asked the hermit. Hyunwoo replied that he had come for the cloud of Duri that the Monkey King had bequeathed to him. "Okay," Kuretz Gashishin answered him without even turning in his direction. "It is clear," again followed a leisurely lazy answer which finally pissed off the impatient hermit. He was already thinking of giving the native a smack, but he decided to answer suddenly. But before getting to the dope, Gashishin warned him. And again, he took another savory drag from his pipe, his brains clearly drugged from the stupefaction. The hermit was angry. "How is the younger Kuretz Gashishin, or rather Brother Monkey King?" Dason asked. "The fool," he said after hearing the story of Makak, who had fallen at the hands of the hermit, and now contracted with him, still wanted to climb the tree of the matrix. "And where is the bailout stick?" asked Kuretz Gashishin, and the hermit admitted that he was not with himself at the moment. "Mangaka's portmanteau only allows you to connect to one server at a time. You can't take a second one with you," Kuretz realized. "The Monkey King has already climbed the tower and not alone. What does that mean?" the hermit asked. "Heard of the 7 Kurtzes?" Dason answered the question with a question. 7 strong yokai, companions of the Monkey King, Kuretz explained. "At this point, none of them are climbing the matrix tree, except for the goofy Monkey King, of which there is now a remote server left." "What do they do then?" the border guard asked. "Do they do nothing?" "Just snoozing and smoking hookahs in those dreary shards of the matrix," explained Kuretz Hashishin. "But why did he give up illegal tourism himself?" the hermit asked. "There is one obvious truth," he realized, Gashishin said. "No matter how high they get, it's impossible to fully regain all the karma and authority in the system." "Especially them, that guy," muttered Gashishin cryptically, and took another drag. That's it. Kuretz made it clear that the character's third-party dialogue about the lore of the world was complete. "If the Monkey King is still fighting, it's a good thing." Kuretz yawned lazily. The hermit sighed. They always cut off stories in the middle. "But now that they're done, let him give up the cloud of Duri already," the hermit said. "Will he be able to hold it?" Gashishin asked, exhaling smoke. "Don't mess around," the hermit replied sharply, but Gashishi explained that he wasn't going to clamp down on the Duri cloud at all. "This level allows you to transfer accumulated skills, but there is no easy way to get them," Kuretz replied. "Strength is forged from the steps traveled," Kuretz continued to explain. "Did Emo Daus use the chicken dragon's abilities as freely as his own?" Kuretz asked. "But this place has its own methods of transmitting karma," Kuretz pulled. "We need to repeat the karma of the Monkey King," enigmatically uttered Gashishin. "What a strange logic this matrix has, as if someone had long forgotten they lived in the game," wondered the mad hermit. The two lords sat at the world map and divided the spheres of influence. "How do we divide?" asked Agent Rosa, the main rival. She'd like to rebuild Mexico City herself after the White Elephant attack, but right now it's chaos and anarchy. Of course, it would be easier to clean up all the gangs with the KGB, but that could cast a shadow on the teacher, she thought. But Pijo has a lot of experience in taking territory, and their skills could be useful in Mexico City. Here they could create the master's dream city. The maiden conceived a cunning plan. Half made her terms, the first candidate for concubine. "Half of the city she will build up as she wishes," the Dragon Empress proudly declared. Okay, for the sake of cooperation, Agent Rosa was willing to make concessions. We'll draw the border here and the elevation difference here. They started the business partition of the pie. To get a dope cloud, you need to get as high as the king of the macaca, Hashishin said. What? Hanwoo wondered. That's how much to blow out, he wondered. Shouldn't he have been trained first, but Gashishin brushed it off. The hermit must comprehend the art himself. After all, he is not strong in the art of smoking Dao, and is more specialized in physical strength, showed his biceps, Hashishin. Doing everything himself, eventually gave up on the crazy hermit. What a damn macaw! Couldn't explain it all at once, the hermit got angry. Even if he knew, there would be no point in helping him, because without repeating karma, you can't get power, Kuretz Gashishin explained. And brother Macaca himself, he did it alone, without help. So one must pull as he did, the hermit realized, and then he would be credited with it as personal karma. Well, it's worth a try, the mad hermit thought. I cannot stand to watch others work. I'll go lie down, answered Kuretz Hashishin. Something else, remembered before I went into nirvana, remembered Gashishin. Duri Macaca's cloud, among those clouds that Gashishin put up earlier, so good luck finding it, Kuretz said. Touché. Hyunwoo looked up at the sky. That's how much slacker is smoking here already. A multitude of white clouds floated peacefully across a looped infinite sky in a bounded matrix. Boundless mountains spread out on the horizon of this strange server. The hermit has aged imperceptibly after being on the accelerated server for 3 whole years. 100 years had gone into the electrophoresis technique. But with the Tao of smoking, he was dealing with it for the first time, resented the hermit. At first, he tried using the 5 elements by applying the power of absurdity, but the cheat failed. He would then jump clouds, hoping to find the right one, but that quickly got boring. Even after pacing like a master electrician through the clouds, nothing worked. Riding the cloud didn't work after all, it's just water vapor. Hyunwoo didn't give up and tried connecting the clouds with magic. He tried to squeeze them forcefully, but they turned to rain and disappeared. Eventually he realized the step of emptiness and began to walk across the sky. Pushing off the dense mana beneath his feet, he could run, but not for long. Barely losing concentration, the hermit immediately rocketed downward. He'd better ask the king of the macaca, the hermit thought, forgetting his pride. But then he imagined how he would abuse him, so he gave up. What else is there to do? He thought, looking at the vast clouds floating peacefully across the sky. The hashishi chicken had left the den and was smoking outside, adding new clouds to the sky. The mad hermit was startled. A hunch struck him, and he shouted a battle cry. You can really walk on the sky and surprise teacher Gashishin. Or not, he thought, as the hermit flopped to the ground again. The hermit took off again. So you can, amazing thing the Tao, works though it shouldn't, puffed Gashishin. But perfection is still a long way off, a lazy Kuretz remarked. This is the second attempt to fail, although the guest had previously fallen to cloud level, Gashishin noted. It didn't matter whether it worked out or not. From that day on, he lost all hope, Kuretz recalled. But why was Macaque clinging to this troublemaker so tightly, Dason wondered. He even told him how to get karma, which is quite unusual for a macaque. The mad hermit was hot from the exercise, or maybe he was already starting to feel the cloud of Duri. Why had he taken off all his clothes, hung Kurtz's mute question. Good thing that psycho left his underwear on. A naked man in the sky doesn't bode well. Hyunwoo hovered above the clouds, treading carefully on them with his feet. It would have to work this time, he realized with a final inhalation of the stupefaction. Eventually, he revisited the power of the absurd through stories of flying wizards. One master had a light body technique. If you can't make the clouds denser, you have to relieve yourself. Recalling his strength, Hyunwoo noticed that the usual physics of vapor and condensation did not apply in the clouds of this matrix. By applying the basics of body relief in Master Electric's bush, one can sense the clouds, the hermit realized. The void step he applied earlier was incomplete. Now he stood on his inner energy as if on the ground. Wow, Gashishin noted. The hermit used to be bursting with magic, but now everything comes easy. The hermit and WPIM stepped confidently on the cloudy surface as if it had texture. The Duri clouds immediately reached for the mad hermit. Finally, he exclaimed happily, he'd caught the damn parish, and collapsed on the cloud as if it were a soft featherbed. Ports would have put on already. Exhibitionist, through clothes, curettes, gashishin. It seemed heavy to the hermit, for he had had time to wean himself off of it as well. To his age of virginity was added a dozen more, at what cost to strength. "Don't worry, you'll catch up," soothed the innocent hermit curate's gashishin. "Here's a keepsake ring, with an expansion feature, handed to the hermit by the artifact." "But why did the cloud of Duri become a ring of Duri?" asked the hermit, but Kuretz only shrugged his shoulders. "When you catch a parish, and not such things are seen." Expand the hermit decided to try out the upgrade, and the cloud of Duri became a cloud again, poured out into the sky. "Squeeze," the hermit cheerfully commanded, pondering the methods of application. The cloud had become a ring again. The matrix was taking on an increasingly convoluted logic, the hermit realized. "Just don't use it too often," the great Kuretz warned. "Of course," replied the hermit confidently, and wanted to press the exit button. "Pass something to Brother Makekich," asked Kuretz Hashishin. "Okay." The hermit listened carefully to Gashishin's lengthy message. Peaceful dispute about the division of spheres of influence turned into open warfare, forgetting everything girls fiercely swapped pillows. As a familiar voice called out to them, the cats turned around happily. "Girls don't fight. The crazy hermit is here to check on the students." "But what is it?" he asked, looking at the design madness. What a madness they had built, the hermit marveled. Mastered the Duri cloud, well done, supported Makak, but why? He asked. But he himself said to get a cloud Duri resented the hermit. They both froze, staring at each other in cognitive dissonance. "Didn't Bart Kuretz tell the hermit how to bring the cloud of Duri?" Makakich asked. "No," replied the hermit incredulously. "He was told to repeat all the rituals of smoking. Was there any other way?" he asked the Monkey King. And from his silent reaction realized that yes was 10 years horrified the hermit for nothing. What the hell was he doing catching parishes for so many years, resented Hyunwoo. Makak remembered. His brother hadn't listened very carefully to the instruction on how to pass the Duri cloud. Well, and let it be, real time spent not much, the cloud received new experience, also consoled himself 120 years old man. Actually, you could have done without that. Makak shook his head. He could simply share his karma, for the cloud is part of it, and thus pass on the hermit's control abilities. What's done is done, you can't regret it, the mad hermit said to himself. Time to go up, Makak said, and Hyunwoo interjected. Through the labyrinth, he suggested. You can't ride a cloud in a narrow space, Monkey shook his finger. We need to get into the rectum, he told the hermit. The specifics of logistics in the Matrix Tower. The warrior swung his spear, repeating for the 1,000th time the futile movements in a world where magic and art strikes. Why have you come? He asked the unexpected guest who had interrupted his valuable training. About that man, the warrior asked, but the monk shook his head negatively. That's how, the master realized, the conversation was going to go the wrong way. I'll have to listen, he decided, and sat down with his foot on his leg. Beneath her sciatic, the Maritza materialized a stool, a special skill that all the years of training had gone for. Next, he loaded up the entire diner in one piece, and even a shot of pepperjack to himself. Maybe I should pour you a cold as a tear, the warrior suggested to the guest and prepared to listen. Can't drink on the job, the monk refused, and swallowed his saliva greedily. Then I'll take a sip myself if that's the case before it gets hot, the warrior said. So why are you here? Said the master of the quick pour. Need help. Briefly communicated the purpose of the entire visit to the monk. Amazing, the master said. It was the first time he had seen a monk go against the Lord's will. What's up with that kid? The warrior asked a leading question. He needs to be cooled down, he's getting too excited, the monk replied. Outsider. The warrior clarified that it was about one person. So Emma Boy Dow's is already that, concluded the pepper master. And the talk was, chicken claw, electrical installation, grinned the warrior. Laziness, he replied in refusal to the monk's request to deal with the 9th floor. Direct passage explained Makakich, but only for experienced illegal immigrants. In one day, you can rush to the 12th. One day instead of 5, due to new abilities, is good news for the hermit. If it didn't work out, he would take on the apprentices again, but there was no need for that now, the hermit decided. But since the passage is for experienced illegal aliens, how can a poor border guard squeeze through? The hermit asked. Let him not worry about it. said the macaque. For the pass is already there. The last time the right item fell off Amoboy. Chicken dragon karma can only be obtained illegally, but it's proof in itself, so it'll do for a pass, Monkey explained. We can go right now, suggested the Monkey King. But first we need to fill mangaka's portmanteau, the hermit reminded. 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I'd really like to kick the developer's ass, said the hermit. He just doesn't want to get his hands dirty, the warrior explained his refusal, taking apart the portable pourer. And nonchalantly went back to his useful pole training. If done well, gets karma, 2 paths, the monk offered. Trump came in, realized the price of bribery, master of the poor, no need to even go down into the tower. 2 trails for 1 hair, he interjected to the Lord's servant. Don't forget your promise, he said, and immediately transgressed. Though the Lord had told him to leave the outsider, but he must be eliminated as quickly as possible, the monk muttered. The best craftsman in the world that uses a technique named after him. There are many strong people in the Matrix Tower, but not so many who have gone beyond human capabilities at their levels. The poor master had less karma than even Amoboya. However, to get her, he would do anything, the monk pondered. So he came to the manganese lord and asked a favor. And in return, he promised to serve as a faithful dog of the regime, the monk recalled the story. Are they even going the right way? Asked the hermit, and macaque told him to shake the compass. Hyunwoo shook, and the Tamagotchi vibrated and glowed. The pointer beam struck the sky for sure to be spotted. Squeeze the chicken dragon ball, and on your way, instructed macaque. Hermit was worried about the cat girls, how they were doing without him. He left without explaining anything as usual, but the girls are not timid, they can handle it. Clutching the chicken Pokemon tighter, he took off in a rocket. The ball sputtered from poor contact with the direct pass server. But still plugged into the right level of matrix, the hermit found himself at the bottom of a deep well. He said go, and waved his hand. Riding the cloud of Duri, the hermit began the climb up the shaft. The slave accountant was going through contracts and turned down a pesky agent. Toth didn't want to fall behind and was hoping to carve out a loophole on how to get the hermit to agree to another photo shoot with their brand. But the girl was left to refuse and send the agent to hell with his suggestions. The host's popularity skyrocketed and caused a lot of anxiety. Abibus ads are now at the top of the search terms, and everyone wanted Hermes sports shorts. Good thing Master refused to advertise, the slave girl exhaled. But the work did not become less. She was still mercilessly exploited, even in spite of better working conditions. Have we arrived yet? Asked the hermit. And now, he repeated every 5 minutes of dull climbing. It's even nerdier than sticking around in the Hashishin level, bored hermit. Ultimate, here we go, reported macaque, tired of listening to the whining of the mad hermit. A door. Hyunwoo saw it and asked if this was the place for him, as if there were many doors here. He brought the chicken dragon Pokemon key to the door, and something clicked loudly. Imitating the creak of a rusty, long, uncleaned gate, the virtual door opened. The 12th floor looked like a strange set of abstracts and was poorly displayed due to its complexity. Some kind of inscription, the hermit thought, but he couldn't read it because he was bad at school. No built-in interface with Windows jumped out, and the hermit conceived another way to get in. Aggressive plugging, he said, and stuck a stick digger into the turret. You can't get to the hidden level with other servers, so he left his here. The hermit pulled out Mangaka's portmanteau. The system suggested it be used for a secure connection. On the floor of So-Yan's guild, the girls were drawing pentagrams for the witch's spell. And you can also guess, Fox Alice said with significance. It wasn't easy for cute So-Yan to see an illegal immigrant in homemade underwear. There's all kinds of divination, on bones, animal entrails, coffee grounds, hair, the vixen listed. The fortune-telling circle can be spun back and forth, conjuring up the past and the future, Alice explained. But the all-seeing eye of the Matrix doesn't let you cheat and see the future, but you can find out if you're lucky or not, said the fox. How about some dough, suggested the vixen, much to Cutie So-Young's delight. She folded her palms, twirling. The fox hummed magic words. The fortune balloon emerged from the magic circle. Now you just have to wait, instructed the vixen. But the balloon gave out the inscription full PE instead of an answer, so what that could mean, the girls didn't understand. The level began to rearrange itself, right in front of the mad hermit's eyes. The textures of the wooden ship grew out of the tower textures. As the ship chugged along, the hermit noticed an entrance off to the side. Inside, everything was covered in dust, scrolls with blueprints lying around, and round clouds of scenery hanging instead of lamps. Each cloud represented some level of the matrix. "Hello, Mr. Anderson?" came the greeting tape as he passed the entry point. "Who's the joker?" the hermit asked and turned around, noticing the presence. "Developer," the patched programmer introduced himself. "The joke really is outdated," he commented to the bot at the door. "What other biblical references are there?" the hermit asked after looking around. "There's a secret archive of matrix blueprints," the developer told him. "Volumes of code and stuff. That's why it's an arc," he explained. Noah introduced himself to the programmer by his nickname, the creator of this place, he said. "And he called the hermit here too. Ah, developer," rejoiced Hyunwoo. "That's right." The shaggy-haired programmer confirmed the input again. He also created the training tower and put a hermit in it like a red maiden. The developer nodded his mane at everything. "How long he had been looking for him," exclaimed the hermit joyfully. "A good opportunity to close the gestalt and return the favor," smirked the mad hermit. "But they're not the enemy." The developer hastily raised the firewall. "I know," said the hermit, "but duty is duty," and he continued to batter the developer's defenses. As if he didn't know what he was in for, raged the mad hermit. The defense cracked, and the puny programmer was taken by the collar. "Don't worry, I won't hit you hard," Hyunwoo said and swung wide. Sounds of profanity, coughing, and muffled kidney punches rang through the ship. The developer's virtual head swelled badly from the aftermath. What you sow is what you reap. The mad hermit fulfilled his long-held dream. "Now we can have tea," Hyunwoo said to the developer. "My mirror, my light, tell me the whole truth," sang the master of negotiations. The programmer was stunned at the programmer's insolence, but the hermit dismissed the accusation. He was the one who was locked up for 12 long years like a prisoner. "If there was a reason, then spit it out before your fists itch," the hermit threatened. The reason why he was locked up, Hyunwoo wanted to know first. It would have been nice to tell the whole background of the story first, but the developer left it out. He chose the staunchest tin soldier. The programmer pointed his finger at the hermit. The ravings of a madman a masochist found resented Hyunwoo. No details, realized the dim-witted developer, who had also lost his social skills. Each floor of the matrix in the tower has its own logic and physics. On the 9th floor, it's a level reset. "The 21st load cycle has now begun on the 9th floor, the developer explained. "That's right." He confirmed the hermit's hunch. He too had booted up many times, but he didn't remember it. But in past uploads, the hermit has proved himself properly, so the choice fell on him. In the 6th cycle, he'd be a regular hunter, maybe a little stronger than the others. What's more, he didn't even have any special skills like other hunters. However, he was still able to kill the illegal with a mighty jerk. But the main reason is that the hermit has distorted the standard scenario in the matrix of the 9th floor. All levels of the matrix, originally just testing programs, the 9th floor screened out the bottom half of the list of illegals. Each time it had been destroyed, but now the mad hermit had broken the noose. There was something else that was reassuring, groused the programmer with a broken nose. In that, it is the mad hermit who will be able to change the entire matrix, Neo's chosen one, the developer inadvertently blurted out. And because of that, he was kept in the tower as if he were a prisoner, the hermit exclaimed. What's so special, Hyunwoo wondered. And the developer replied that the 12th cycle was particularly memorable. The hermit lost his arm in a fight with an illegal alien and was bleeding. All the comrades had already fallen and lay dead beneath his feet. The hermit lured the illegal to a nuclear plant that was nearby. Applying the curse artifact on the illegal, the hermit pressed the detonator and blew up the nuclear reactor, taking the monster to the grave with him. The developer wanted to recount everything, but the hermit brushed it off, whoever he was. His current personality is the product of a single stream of memories. The imprisonment gave the hermit time and strength, because resilience alone cannot change the entire matrix. But the tower had a limit to the monster's strength, the hermit objected, a training device of sorts. Normal-level citizens could only gain karma in the Tower of Learning. Outside of it, the recruitment of karma and thus power is greatly reduced, the hermit learned. X2 experiences, that's the main feature of the tower, the developer said. Understood? Accepted. But what are the changes to the matrix that the developer wants to make? The matrix is being misused, the developer explained, originally with 5 people on the team. The designer who drew the matrix and its concepts. The engineer, the one who designed its mechanics and logic. The tester, the one who tweaked everything and brought balance to the system. The developer programmer wrote code for everything to make it work. And the sysadmin, the one who makes sure the system works, called everyone Noah. Without the team lid, the Mad Hermit assumed. The problem started when the designer, the tester, and the engineer colluded with each other. They stole the access passwords from the sysadmin and tried to erase the developer. He was lucky to be saved on a secret server no one had access to. Sysadmin had to hide as well, Noah assumed. After they stole the project, started using it with their blackjack, and underbid the developer. He noticed something and fell silent doing a quick search. "What's wrong?" the Mad Hermit asked the silent developer. Half Indra, the shaggy-haired programmer, told him. An experienced illegal immigrant had descended to the 9th floor. At the triumphal arch, the pole-pusher master appeared. How strange, he thought. No one meets, no flowers, no loaf, not even a drink is offered. The dummies were taking pictures instead of running for cover in any unclear situation. The people were completely weaned from monster attacks. The guard shouted shoo-shoo into the horn. He's come here for an outsider, but there's no choice, the poor master thought to himself, and opened the door to the underspace refrigerator. Hundreds of dummies with cell phones turned to ice. The pouring master took another swing, long dirk in hand, and caused another ice age on the streets of the city. How else to make ourselves known? Make a phone call, give a note to the newspaper, put on an ice figure show, our choice. Sweet Seo Yeon and Alice the Fox anxiously listened to the news stream. "Better not to run into an illegal," said Alice the Fox. "They will die at the mere sight of that monster," she told the pretty So Young. Fox is lower in rank than Master Electric or Demon Lowly, but since even he says so, thought Seo Yan. The poor master didn't just use plain ice. There was no mana visible in it at all. So everything he's created is his karma. The fox ears perked up. "There are even receivers," Empress Lolai heard, breathing heavily. "Already met a couple times in past cycles," said the pouring master. He towered over the girls on the ice column, just amused while he waited for the outsider. What a monster! Empress Lolai could barely breathe and had already wasted all her strength. She hit it with the power of absurd and the power of lowly, but to no avail. Even the power of the first volume of Capital, as performed by Agent Rosa, didn't work. The book was getting covered in ice faster than the girl was reading the spells. "2 whole heiresses with such strength," the poor master muttered enviously. "And all because of the outsider, to test the girls, but time is short," he lamented. "Let's make this quick," grinned the master ominously. From below, Demonololi shouted, warning the contract woman. The girl turned around and saw a huge wave of ice coming at her. At the last moment, she dodged the ice age. But the master of cold pouring showed up on top of the Empress LOL. The big dredge was approaching the tiny student. "It's going to be a long damn elevator ride down," the Mad Hermit said nervously. As soon as he left the border for a day, the illegal immigrant showed up, and now the hermit was worried about his shift. "Get the Pokemon Pass," Monkey commanded as they arrived. "We'll be there in 10 minutes, guided the topographically cretinistic hermit macaque. The ruins of Rome have been replenished with new ruins. There will be no shortage of tourists, thought the hermit. As Scary noticed, the stranger's uncle was pawing at his cat girls. "No forgetting, no forgiving, illegal crossing, only elimination," shouted the Mad Hermit. But the poor master managed to dodge from a hard blow. "Oh, there's the main customer because he's tired of waiting," said the criminal. The hermit gently held the Empress Lolai. Pulse palpable, he checked across his chest. "Maybe they will offer a drink at least now," asked the pouring master. "We'll give you a light too," the Mad Hermit replied menacingly. Appeared right out of nowhere. Where was who he saw? Asked the pourer. The hermit asked the Monkey King to move the cat girls away from the battlefield. He gently placed them on the cloud. It was a good thing they were both breathing. Dury Cloud turned on autopilot and sped away with the students. "Dury Cloud, an unusual thing," remarked the anomalous artifact poor master. The Mad Hermit released bloody mana without further ado. Wow, magic isn't bad either, the illegal was amused. At level 9. But is that really all there is to it? Looked more closely by the pouring master. For Boy to get pummeled with just that, wondered the illegal. This is a flower, said the hermit. And now there will be berries. But the illegal muzzle didn't understand the local metaphors, and stood with his mouth open. We'll weld your saddle, the mad hermit raged. Welding means you learned welding, dazedly looked at the hermit master of the pouring. Seamless, weld all the hatches shut, the mad hermit hissed. He exchanged a few blows on the bailout sticks. A lively battle of equals ensued, the hermit wielding monkey's staff well. But the master of the pour had something to answer with. He struck with icy projectiles. Not a big deal, he issued pathetically after the attack. But now the mad hermit stood taller, his power clearly underestimated. As a master of close combat and face-to-face negotiation, he rushed toward the illegal. Absurd's zero-distance punch applied Bruce Lee's technique, hermit. The illegal's carcass rolled on the rocks, ringing with each impact. Rusty, the illegal heard, and noticed the rapidly enlarging inspection device. What kind of endoscope is that for a giant? The illegal was horrified. Wait, not yet agreed, pursued the enemy by a mad border guard, and attacked with a series of simple punches with a bailout stick. And the illegal fought back with a steel crowbar with which he had practiced extensively. But the bailout stick hurt more and the illegal drinker was squeezed. Turn around for a thorough inspection, the border guard asked politely. Carol, the hooligans are taking away your eyesight, wailed the pouring master. And the border guard backed off. He doesn't want to bend over nicely to the inspection. There will be another conversation, said the insane hermit, and applied the long-armed fetishist technique. But then he got an unpleasant surprise. The mandala behind his back was covered in frost. Now I see how Boy was apprehended, the illegal pour master gritted his teeth. Since you've endured the duel for so long, it's worth introducing yourself properly, the hermit heard. Ice didn't break with lightning, wondered the hermit because he didn't do well in school. Master Refrigerator, nicknamed Glacial Zapoya, introduced himself as an illegal. The developer was worried. Let the frontiersman swat Boy. As luck would have it, his opponent was a legendary creature. He's a repeat illegal alien and definitely has karma, and all of the developer's powers went into locking Hyunwoo in the tower 12 years ago. The mad hermit tensed up and removed the glaciation. The hermit let static currents flow through his body for self-heating. Thanks to the Monkey King's karma, this movement was able to be concealed. Enough demonstrations, said the refrigerator man. It's time to finish the repairs. He moved toward the mad hermit himself, closing the distance with a single leap. The steel crowbar collided with the bailout stick of the mad hermit. The freezer was chilling him to the bone. Rusty, he pulled out the telescopic staff of the Monkey King. What kind of karma is this? He asked Makaka, himself not freezing, from his own refrigerator. But Monkey knew nothing about the karma of the illegal refrigerator. Omaiva Shindaru sounded the foreshadowing of a critical blow from behind. Just not that way, the hermit struggled to block the heavy blow with his crowbar. The impact carried him to a cliff of building rubble, their battle changing the landscape beyond recognition. You're not doing too bad, said the Freon master, and was sent to the erotic pedestrian. And who promised to fix it with welding? Snarled Freezer. It's almost done now. We'll be sealing the whole thing soon, the hermit replied. Good, so it won't be boring, replied the pouring master calmly. How about this one? He asked and turned on the ice maker. It's always like this. You order a drink and it's all ice. The hermit was upset. Ice stakes flew towards the mad border guard in large numbers. All he had to do was refuse his order and retreat. Your order, pursued by an illegal part-time bartender. The metal of the leather vest was covered with frost. The main thing was not to lick it, the hermit thought. Now we'll set the accelerated freeze and call it a day, exulted the freezer man. I'll finish him off in one blow. He pointed the crowbar at the hermit. A cloud of dust and ice crumbs rose up from the impact. The freezer man was surprised. The blow hit the target, but without the desired effect. His steel tuning rod was gripped firmly. Gotcha, thought the mad hermit, and took the crowbar away. You can't fix a refrigerator without a tire iron, he told the illegal. Hold your teeth, swung the hermit around for a mouth inspection, and fist-bumped the fetishist, the drunken freezer master. Hyunwoo looked at the effect of the punch, but the fight was clearly not over yet, he realized. Fuck you. The refrigerator man happens to have a second specialty. He had changed his clothes in the settings and now looked like a plague doctor. Phase 2 is like a real boss, the hermit frustrated. Lord of delinquency, the freezer man introduced himself again. The ice crows pecked the hermit. Didn't think the first specialty wouldn't be enough, the refrigerator man remarked. Looks like it's time to say goodbye. No one can digest procrastination anymore. That he's already got indigestion, Master Procrastination asked. The mad hermit was rapidly being covered in ice. Thanks for the introduction, fool, he said, and squeezed the detonator. The magical chains were firmly welded to the freezer's arms. A well-fixed client, no need for anesthesia, the hermit said. Get ready now to start welding all the holes, heard the alarmed illegal alien. What kind of tricks are these? They didn't agree to this, faltered the grizzled freezer. Have a nice vacation in our prisons, said the polite border guard goodbye. Let him sit in the monkey house to think about behavior, the hermit exhaled. The abandoned birds began to melt away, and without mana fueling them. After them, a blinding downpour hit the ground, smelling like stale food from the freezer. The hermit looked at the secret seal device that Razrabochki had assembled in his haste. Shit. The illegal handyman graduated from a vocational school, not a PTU Sharashka, caused trouble. Borrowed karma kicked back with muscle spasms. Thanks to Noah, he sealed the illegal for 5 days, but the danger was great. He could still deal with the karma of the glacial drunkenness, but not with the procrastination. His stomach wasn't ready for that. As they say, you can't win, turn off the cheats, thought the hermit, looking at the sun that came out of the clouds. The Dragon Empress recovered in the hospital after a hard fight. Her thoughts were confused, and she had trouble knowing where she was. The girl moved, and her guard immediately emerged from the gloom. Report everything, the Dragon Empress ordered. What about the illegal? She asked the servant after listening to the servant's report. The mad teacher had saved her, but there was no more Demonololi could say. Their magic could be felt everywhere, but understated the demoness. At some point, the illegal disappeared, for details to the hermit, demoness said. In this fight, the girl's attacks were completely useless. Don't get discouraged, Loli said. Still, this illegal was too strong, but maybe you want more Bogatyrsky strength, seduced Loli. A shadow of determination ran across the Dragon Empress's face. Is it a dream? Realized Agent Rosa to herself in a strange place. She remembered exactly herself in the battle and how she had read marks, but then the memories cut off. Maybe it's death, a bitter guess crossed her mind. But there was still so much this and that she hadn't done to the teacher. The innocent cat girl nearly cried. It's all right, it's not death. The first volume of Capital spoke to her. Who is it? Agent Rosa asked. A strange artifact that hasn't acted like this before. The essence of spirit. Not Marx wrote this volume, but Hegel, the spirit of their book. It was he who taught Mason, the labor theory of value. So Mason wasn't the owner of the artifact, Agent Rose wondered, and the spirit resented that the man was only a pathetic worm who sought the truth. So it's not post-mortem, but then where is this place? The girl asked. Remote server reported Hegel's spirit. She is currently in the hospital. He had long ago noticed the girl's talent, but her grasp of philosophy was still weak, the spirit noted. But it would take a lot of work before she could become a true seeker of truth, Hegel's spirit informed her. Recovery isn't quick, Noah noted when the hermit grimaced painfully. From the hermit's account, the illegal alien possessed a special anomalous body in the Matrix. These bodies are born of myths, and they have twisted logic, so they are stronger than the ones the hermit fought, the developer explained. But there is a solution, since he was called here, the hermit suggested. Exactly, confirmed his speculation, developer Noah. It takes, and he paused for a hidden commercial, but Hyunwoo didn't fall for the fucking clickbait. You need karma of the same rank as Freezer Procrastinator. It's simple, said the developer. Karma beats karma, the mad hermit asked the game master. It's not even about quantity as much as rank, Noah answered him. Damn cheaters. The hermit resented when he learned that there were those who cheated more than him. Who's to say, sighed the developer, and continued to outline his cunning plan. You can't get by with cheats. You need similar karma in rank, and there aren't many ways to get it. However, he does have the right karma already, Noah said. The hermit glanced at the balloon pass with Chicken Dragon. He's here because Noah allowed this server to log in. Now the protection on the Chicken Dragon server was lifted and it could be used. After all, it was the one who wrote those servers with hidden levels, the developer said confidently. These devices compress karma and store it, he explained to the hermit. I'll open the developer tools now, said Noah, and conjured up some programming magic. A lot of tabs and dialog boxes with a crooked and uncomfortable interface opened. But what can you do? The whole matrix was programmed by 5 people. One karma can be defeated by another, but what about the essence? The hermit asked. Each karma has its own essence. Just as fire cannot defeat water, so karma can be incompatible with another. Like the region of freezing and lightning, clarified the mad hermit to Noah. He only has Chicken Dragon karma, the developer said. The Pokemon's ball shimmered again with a bad connection in the programmer's hands. But he quickly fixed it and gave the magic server to Hyunwoo. Is that it? The hermit asked. The preparations complete? He heard back. You can upload. The rest is up to you, Noah added. But what to do with this Pokemon? Asked the hermit, whether to strangle the snake or not. He looked at the azure ball. It's simple, you just need to… Noah paused for your commercial, tame the dragon. Either give it a light and still tame the dragon, the developer added. Connected that way, Noah said, giving the hermit some thought. There are 3 ways to fry for the chicken dragon, but everyone is different in the amount of time one can spend and the final nutritional outcome in karma. By speeding up the server, Noah was able to win the hermit 3 days for roasting the dragon. Hermit, booted into yet another secret level of the Matrix, it was raining perpetually, and lightning was blazing. Here comes the fresh meat, spoke the huge kite that flew in the sky in front of Hyunwoo. He remembers me surprised the hermit, for they had fought when the Chicken Dragon karma belonged to Emo Boy. A kid with the karma of a hairy monkey, said Chicken Dragon. Damn boa constrictor, who's the hairy one here? Somehow the Monkey King's mind was uploaded to the server as well. Monkey's here too, marveled Chicken Dragon, leaning over to the bailout stick. There is, tail, hairy, so macacan is, laughed Dragon. So you know each other? The hermit asked the 2 digital creatures. The old friends began to argue loudly, and the hermit was tired of it. By the way, can't you turn off the shower already? It's cold, Hyunwoo asked. You can't see a damn thing because of this downpour. What kind of fantasy was the developer who came up with this? The climate control is broken, and you're going to run now anyway. You'll warm up, smiled Dragon. Who knows why consciousness was preserved, the dragon said. But it was obvious that the hermit had come for his karma. So what are we going to do? Chicken Snake asked the hermit. He could repeat the path of the chicken dragon, the snake suggested. There's no time for that, the hermit quickly replied. Crawling like a snake takes too long. You can grab karma, or you can get recognition, which means you can make a contract. Capture will give an achievement in the achievement list for defeating the dragon, but the bonuses from it are half-hearted, suggested the second snake option. The last option, recognition of karma itself, but the level of possession will depend on the user's skill, named the last option Chicken Dragon. Only confession means, the mad hermit decided unhesitatingly. You just have to fight the Chicken Dragon for recognition. But you have to fight without help or cheats, said the sneaky snake slyly. So you can't use a bending stick. The hermit tossed the staff aside. Great. We just need to defeat the kite, he said. Simple as that. Good decision, Dragon said. But it's going to be hard, he warned. Aren't they equal in power to the Monkey King? The hermit asked. Macaca can only fight with a stick, and that's when Dragon is asleep, the serpent laughed. But still, the Monkey King was defeated, the hermit said. This was in a tower where the balance system reduces abilities. What the hermit was fighting wasn't even half of Macaque's strength. Is it true? Asked the hermit to the tailed man, and he confirmed. The Matrix has a twisted balance. Winning with an actual dragon summon on his server is impossible in the current situation, so the serpent offered his option. 5 minutes of real combat attacks, that's what a mad hermit has to endure on his own. All in all, stated the cocky cheater, let's get through the level quickly. That's right. As soon as you move, the timer goes off, Chicken Dragon said. The main thing is that the boa constrictor should not retract his words later, the hermit warned. There will be no such thing, replied the dragon, but he so smugly stated the serpent. Hyunwoo released all of his mana at once and attacked the query dragon. Meanwhile, the rabid freezer was sitting on a tight leash. The chains were perfect, nothing could break them. But for such durability, they were paying for it with time. There was not long to wait for them to sleep. "I'll get out of here, I'll freeze like a mammoth," said the illegal Santa Claus. Noah watched the broadcast from the server from his desk. Despite the prolonged use, the dragon's karma was full, practically 100% of true strength, he noticed. Originally, his remote servers could only hold half of the true powers of the image. Has it really been possible to improve the server? Wondered the developer. The remaining trio was able to do something. He remembered his former co-workers. So it's great luck that such a full-fledged karma server fell into the hands of a hermit, Noah thought. The boy will be able to gain much more strength than before, though through much pain. Loved to endure pain. Used self-hypnosis techniques on myself, a hermit. "Where did the cocky boy go?" Chicken Dragon asked him. "The underbelly snake." "This is cheating," shouted Hyunwoo. "The deal was no cheats, so don't cry now," grinned Chicken Dragon. "Not at all like fighting an Imaboya Taoist," the hermit remarked. He was working in a special Monkey King uniform at the time, and he didn't get electrocuted much. The Chicken Dragon's lightning bolts hit orders of magnitude harder than the Taoists', and without the monkey's montage vest, it hurt. But more importantly, he couldn't see them, even given that the Matrix had slowed the rate of discharges by several times. Usually people died from electric shocks, Dragon noted, but the hermit was holding up well, masochist karma taking its toll. "Why don't you just give up?" Chicken Snake suggested, but Hyunwoo defiantly refused. "Then we'll pull the switch one more time," smiled Chicken Dragon, "and turn the electrical stimulation on full blast." "It didn't hurt," shouted the hermit. "Stop putting up with this." Hyunwoo quickly realized that even masochist karma wouldn't help here, and escaped the lightning, whose charge moved several times slower than light. "Hey, you viper," said the Monkey King over the hidden link. "What do you want, Fleabag?" answered the old friend. "Busy a little," said the dragon. "All your plans are devious on your face," said Macaque said. "Do you want to hand over your karma to a crazy guy?" asked Monkey. The dragon looked at the hermit, who was running back and forth from the discharges of slow lightning. "Also voluntary," Macaque added, which was quite unbelievable. "You picked the furry guy yourself, too," Dragon said. "The only one trying to get back the stolen karma," Snake added, looking at Macaquus. "If even he lent his karma, then the guy is worth trusting," Snake continued. "So why not join the winning bid?" Chicken Dragon asked. "There's nothing else to do in this world of rain and thunder anyway, and the chance is worth the risk," Snake said. "What's he babbling about?" Hyunwoo thought, noticing a kite high in the clouds. "Is he a lightning rod?" raged the mad hermit. What to do with this electric worm, Hyunwoo didn't understand. The hermit pondered. As soon as he stood up, the lightning would strike, but he could not dodge them on the ground either. For the first time, lightning struck slightly behind him, Hyunwoo noticed. Glitches. Or they started moving slower, wondered the hermit. Another discharge flew past, only slightly hitting him. No, he was the one who was starting to get used to the speed of the Matrix's slow-motion lightning bolts. Starting to duck, Chicken Dragon noticed, finally getting used to it. Even more, now the boy saw them, and therefore deftly dodged them all. "Now we'll play like grown-ups," said the hermit, pleased with his success. 3 charges were hitting the target at once. From such a sudden jump in difficulty, Hyunwoo simply froze. Boom! The zippers exploded, drying the tracksuit dry, but it still soon got wet. "Cheating again," shouted the hermit, climbing out of the crater. "Didn't he order the full course?" Chicken Dragon asked. "A full course of electrotherapy," said Dragon. "Or he thought he was getting karma for nothing," said Snake to the hermit. "Now I can see why Tailed doesn't like that, Snake," grumbled the hermit. "You can always go out," Dragon said, but Hyunwoo immediately refused. "Pain. Let the pain pass through you, and it will go away," the hermit continued, practicing mosaicism. "Painful. Still painful," squirmed the hermit from a dozen lightning bolts. "Continue training?" the obliging sadist asked, and the hermit gritted his teeth in anger. There was no way he could dodge more than 2-3 lightning bolts, whose speed and strength kept increasing. "Maybe we should run in all 4 directions," the hermit pondered. "But that would only make it harder to control everything, so you have to take a face," he realized. The Korean nerd's strength to the max, Hyunwoo began practicing evasion. After hundreds of frying, his senses began to sharpen, the system adding to his reaction speed. Now he was playfully dodging all the lightning bolts because he could see them so well. The hermit prepared himself. He waited for the discharge. Now he could see the slowed electricity of the matrix flowing.